What is up? Welcome to the Fan the Flames podcast. I'm Nate.
I'm Dan.
We're here ready to do some Flames talk. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well. Coming off that big win.
Yeah, it was a big win. Thursday night, the Flames hosted the lowly New Jersey Devils.
The bottom being Devils.
It's surprising to see a team look that bad, especially this early in the season when teams still have hope, but...
Yeah, I mean, the Flames, they got off to a slow start, but they poured it on the second, and, just at the end of the second, you started to feel bad for New Jersey.
Yeah.
It was pure domination.
So how would you rank the Flames' play in that game?
It was good. It was, slow start, but they came into shape, and I'd say kind of dominated, dominating shots, overall play. The biggest standout was the poor New Jersey defensive performance.
Man, they got turnstiled many a time last night.
Yeah. Calgary gave up a few chances, a few scoring chances. Jersey capitalized on too, but that was pretty solid.
That was mainly because I think that Jersey scored one in the first, and then one pretty early in the second.
Yeah.
Or at least, definitely it was in the first half of the game. And then once Calgary got going, especially in the third period, it was just all Calgary.
Yeah, Jersey was up 2-1, and the rest was all Flames from there on. And they closed out the game, too. I mean, they went strong through third. They never felt Jersey had a chance of coming back, which is key. Which is not what Flames or opponents do against the Flames.
But my question would be, how much was that the Flames closing it out? And how much was it a bad team that once they got down, they just had no pushback? Yeah,
that's true, man. I don't know if Jersey... I'm sure Jersey's not known for coming back at any time.
Not this year, no. And the stat that really stood out to me was, I think it was after the second period, they said the Flames had 22 shots and 20 scoring chances.
Yeah.
And that means that every time the Flames got the puck, they were working it around until they got a scoring chance.
Yeah.
And you don't do that against good teams. Against good teams, you might get 20 shots and maybe 6 scoring chances.
Yeah, even less than that.
Yeah, because you're forced to shoot from perimeter and things like that. So
now it says a lot right there. So good to have Peters yells at them and they get to bounce back with in a game versus Jersey. So that was a recipe for success.
Yeah, and let's hear, he had a number of things to say, but let's hear one clip of the interview with Peters. This was before the game against New Jersey. He talked about the Flames starting on time.
Well, you got to provide a dimension. So everyone's quite clear on what they do to help a hockey team win games, and you got to provide that each and every night. And you got to start on time. Our starts haven't been good enough, so you got to get prepared individually to start, and then collectively it gives us a chance to start on time and play everybody. We got to play more people. We have 4 guys on a recovery day that have played a lot of hockey, a lot of heavy lifting. So it'd be nice to spread that workload around and get more people involved.
So and that the genesis of that really goes back to the game they played previous, which was against Arizona.
Yeah.
And the Flames, they just came off a road trip. First game on a homestand. Down 3-1 to the Coyotes until the last 6 minutes of the game.
Yeah, that was a big... I guess me and everyone, a lot of people writ that game off. This looks like it's going to Arizona, but...
Yeah, once they got 3-1, it felt that way.
Yeah, that's what the Flames can do. They can turn around a game. So, I guess you can't rule them out right away.
And
Kachuk, the hero.
Yeah, the 3-2 goal was a great deflection by Kachuk.
Yeah.
The 3-3 was a little bit lucky.
The Giordano... where it got tipped in.
Yeah, it bounced off a Coyotes player.
Yeah.
So that was a lucky goal. And then, as you say, Kachuk, overtime hero for the second time this year.
Yeah.
And, watching Phil Kessel go wooden-legged in overtime, man, that was fun to watch.
He was on for, 2 minutes?
Yeah, 2 minutes. When he got scored on, it almost was like relief that he could now leave the ice. But, the reason I bring up that game and that quote is, do you think the Flames actually started on time against the New Jersey Devils.
No, they didn't. They got scored on first. It was, I think, after the 5-minute mark. So it's not like Flames came out super slow, but they did give up the first goal, which has been per usual. But this time it didn't take them too long to turn around.
Probably because it's a weaker team.
Yeah, definitely because it's a weaker team. So, like, you know, when everyone's asking, we got to play the full 60 minutes, to be perfectly honest, as a hockey club, that's not viable for a full 60-minute play. That just means you dominate the whole game, and that never happens. There's always ebbs and flows to every hockey game. So, but the good side was the Flames picked up quickly.
Yeah.
Quicker than previous.
I agree with what you're saying about ebbs and flows, but the rebuttal would be that it's a trend with this group of players of slow starts in games, and this goes back all the way to Gulletson.
Yeah, definitely. Well, then third period goes back to Hartley.
Yeah, and that's sort of when Gaudreau Monahan joined the team.
Yeah.
So in terms of playing a full 60 minutes, you might have good periods, bad periods, but a general trend of bad first, strong thirds has been consistent.
Yeah, that's true. That's one consistent part of the Flames game.
And I don't know if there's any way to change it.
Yeah, it brings up the question, how big of a problem is this? In some ways, I think Peter's comments were pretty strong. I mean, they did beat Arizona, probably a game which they shouldn't have won, but they did. That's what the Flames do.
Yeah, it's true.
So he called those guys looking for a better start or a better performance the next game, which they got against a weak opponent. The question is, can they translate to the next game?
Yeah, and the question is, will they ever be able to start on time as well?
Well, you think of Peter's comments, were they onside?
Oh, you want to do an onside, offside? I think it's onside, especially at this point in the season.
Yeah, it's what a coach would do to get his club fired up. I mean, he does that, mixes up lineups, offense and defense, and I guess these are some of the results they can yield.
And there is that coaching sort of adage that when the team is doing bad, you prop them up, you compliment them, you make them feel good, give them confidence. When the team is riding high, that's when you can criticize and kind of pull them back down to earth. So maybe after a comeback win is the time to criticize.
Yeah, agreed.
So in these two games, any players sort of jump out at you as standout performances, good or bad, or highlights?
Derek Ryan, I mean, he started the scoring off of Calgary. I think he's been steadily trending in the right direction since the start of the season. I would say he got off to a slow start, in the sense that he wasn't visible out there, but it seems like with every game he's getting more noticeable, picking up his play, making the better passes, making the smarter choices, and even dangling guys, which he did to score that first goal.
Yeah, it was a nice goal, and as we said, it's not a bottom six goal. It was a skill goal.
Yeah.
And for me, a guy who's kind of been sneaky good, and he had a really good game, this last one, was Hanifin.
Yeah. Best Steve by far for that game.
And 3 points, but like 3 really quiet points. Just a solid kind of like, sometimes we say D are the best when you don't notice them. Well, that's kind of his game. You didn't really notice him too much. Once in a while, a good defensive player, like, oh, wow. But then at the end of the day, you look at the score sheet and 3 points, pretty good.
This game, and I think the last game, he was paired up with Rasmus Andersson. So away from the Hamonic pairing, you think that was a factor in him playing so well?
It's probably a factor, and even just on the level that you play with a guy a whole season, and we as fans would always just say, like, shuffle these guys, but Hanifin, Hamonic, just leave them.
Yeah, we said that tons last year.
And it's just because their names both start with H. I don't know. We just want to leave them together. But
they played solid D last year.
They did. But sometimes, like, when you play hockey, you get a new partner. It just kind of like
freshens things up.
Yeah, exactly.
Changes up the environment. So that definitely a coaching tactic. And in this case, it looks like it paid off pretty well.
Yeah, it did. And what do you think of sitting Shillington in the second game and playing Stone instead. What do you think of that move?
Yeah, I mean, Stone needs playing time. He's a good player. He deserves to be playing just as much as Shillington. And I think some of the idea behind that was to give Shillington more experience. Shillington makes more sense in the minors. So he's been sent down to Stockton as well.
Yeah, that's the latest news is he was sent to Stockton. And I guess Peters had an explanation why they sent him down.
Well, I think it's because he's a better or gained experience, man. He's been doing pretty good in the NHL so far, so going down to Stockton maybe gives him a chance to dominate a bit, really pick up his game to the next level. So it makes sense to me.
Yeah,
and they called up Davidson as well.
Yeah. But the other thing is they said they wanted Shillington to get some penalty kill practice.
That's right.
So that was a reason to send him down.
Yeah.
Another player we had our eye on was Lucic.
Oh, yeah.
And before we get into his suspension, maybe what did you think of his game against the Devils?
Yeah, it was good. It's funny, I've been kind of having a little bit of a roller coaster ride of ideas or thoughts towards Lucic. Since Neil was such a big letdown for me, I was happy to get behind Lucic and kind of encourage him from the get-go. But for a while, he wasn't showing much. He played a couple good games. Then he got this suspension, and I thought it was a good chance to see what the Flames look like with him outside the lineup. You know, puts a faster, more skilled guy in his slot. But since coming back from that suspension, he had a pretty damn good game against Jersey.
He did have a good game, but we have to keep in mind the opponent as well.
Yeah, it's Jersey.
But what did you think of the suspension? Like, do you think it warranted 2 games?
I think this is kind of like, I don't know, what's it called when it's like a precedent setter. This is the NHL saying, or just another way of cracking down on certain behavior, or more specifically headshots.
Yeah, I think it was the fact he punched him in the head.
Yeah. And it looked vicious too. I mean, Lucic is a big guy. If you're a young kid, I'm sure you don't want to get punched in the head by Lucic. And I think it was on Sherwood. It looked like he went out cold for like a split second as he hit the ice.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty strong punch. I don't know if it was...
It was over a guy, so it's not like he would have gotten everything into it.
But he's a pretty strong guy.
But he's a strong guy.
And I think maybe part of it is, I don't know what he says in his hearing, but listening to his comments after, this may have played into the 2-game suspension.
You know, it's a school year out there. You know, you got to defend yourself, or else, or defend your teammates, or else you kind of get walked all over. And you know, like I said, you got to continue to do that moving forward. And more than happy to defend Ritter on that play. More than happy to defend Zarnik in the first game of the year, and we'll do that moving forward.
So he says we'll do that moving forward. Kind of no remorse, and it shows he knows his role on the team.
I like his comments, really. It's a callback to an older NHL where, you know, like you said, you protect your guys, you protect your team, and you stand up to any offenses. But I don't know, it's an old school style of playing, which I really loved, but it seems like it's trying to be phased out. So on one hand, like, I'm okay with this suspension, and at the same time, I like Lucic's comments and the reasoning behind it. So I don't know, it just happened that way, I guess.
Yeah, it's a fine line to walk as an enforcer nowadays, because you do have Reeves, you have Wilson in Washington, who have kind of managed to etch out a role where they're a bit of the boogeyman. Like, you don't want to get hit by these guys, but they're not like just